Well, welcome to the 2024 MBU football season finale coaches show. And for the last time of 2024, we are here with Coach B. Coach, as you reflect back on Saturday and you took on number 12 Baker, team finished 9-1. Mm-hmm. Spartans finished the season at 6-4. Kind of give us, your thoughts on that game, because let's just be honest, you had the ball with still time remaining to possibly tie the game.
Yeah.
As at that time the score was 16-8, but still, just the mere fact that you were in that position, what did it feel like to, even though you didn't end up scoring, but just being in the position that you were?
Yeah, it was exciting. I really had all the confidence in the world that we were going to drive down and tie the game.
Yeah.
I felt like that's kind of how our season went. We were a fourth quarter team. We had been behind. We had been in those situations, and we were prepared for it. So I had all the confidence in the world. We were going to go down and tie it and get the 2-point conversion. But obviously, credit to Baker. I mean, they're a really good defense, and that showed throughout the day. I think it was two really good defenses going at it.
Yeah.
And, I couldn't be more proud of our guys as a whole. How they continued to battle. Offensively, it was tough sledding, but they just kept chipping away, and that's kind of what we kept talking about during the game, is just keep chopping wood, because at some point it was going to break, and it did. It just happened a little bit too late for us.
Right.
Defensively, I thought that we were very, very sharp. Obviously, it helped us that their starting quarterback got hurt on like the second play of the game.
Yep.
Which in some ways I wish he would have played, because I really would like to see, how would we have stacked up, how much would have changed, because the backup had substantial minutes throughout the course of the year. Also, we had a lot of film on him as well. But Jules Guard's a special player, and but as a whole, couldn't be more proud of our guys. They played an entire 60 minutes. I think it's the closest we've ever played to a top 15 ranked team, and we gave them all they wanted.
Well, what I thought was just so impressive was, here it is, you're down, 16. First of all, to hold that offense down to 16. Yeah. I mean, their announcers didn't really know how to call a game at that point. They're expecting them to be in the high 40s, 50s. Okay, That's traditionally what they've done. So it was interesting hearing from their perspective, from their own broadcaster. So number one, just the mere fact that, hey, we're still actually in the game. Then you come down late in the fourth quarter. You score a touchdown. Then what a beautiful play on Simpson, just running into the end zone on the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
And then you saved all your timeouts. You got the defensive stop. All you needed was one first down. It's over. You get the stop. Now, granted, I know their defense came up at the very end, but still, the excitement for all of us as Spartan fans watching that, we can't believe what we're seeing.
Yeah, and that was something that we had talked about ahead of time. As a staff is. When we got the ball back and we ended up driving down and putting points on the board, I told the offensive staff that we needed to hold as many timeouts as possible for if we had to get a stop, which the chances of an onside kick are low.
Right.
That was something that we kind of toyed with, having all 3 timeouts. I kind of was thinking, well, hey, do we kick deep and play field position or take a chance? And I felt like in the last game of the ball, or last ball game of the year, that we were going to just roll the dice, see what happened. Maybe we could steal one, get some great field position. Didn't happen, but we were able to get the stop, get the ball back, and the offense had an opportunity. I think a minute and a half to go, and that's something we practiced several times throughout the week. Moved the ball a little bit, because at the end of the day, their defense made some plays, and obviously held us out of the end zone. But you look back, we had some opportunities. We had a missed field goal, we had a big play in the first quarter that we didn't execute on or didn't make the play on, and that's going to happen. But you look at what it takes, and something we've talked about a lot is to knock a good team off like that, it takes a great effort, and it takes not a perfect game, but close to it. And we just, at the end of the day, both sides of the ball, defensively and offensively, made a few too many mistakes. Even their one touchdown was just a mistake that we had made that led to the touchdown. We got that fixed, held them to field goals the rest of the day. So if we hold them to a field goal there, make some of those plays, or it's a totally different story.
Absolutely, but nevertheless, Coach, just knowing that that's how you finish the season, you can't help but feel that Spartan pride, knowing that you went toe-to-toe against a 9-1 team, obviously coming in 12th ranked, and it was just so awesome to see the guys fight as hard as they did down to the very end and down to the wire. So with that, what did you tell your team after the game? And then certainly, as you reflect on now your season of 6-4, which is historic from the standpoint, not only was it 6-win season, but the first winning season in program history. Yeah. Kind of talk us through what your conversation was like with the team as you were still on the field at the end of the game.
Yeah, it was really just, again, how proud I was of them and that they did fight. I mean, they put up a heck of a fight for 60 minutes, like we said. And, I talked to them a little bit about discipline. I felt like there was a short period there where we got a couple unsportsmanlike penalties. Right. That's not who we are, and it had an effect. So, I just talked to them about just making sure that we do all the little things right. Yep. That we don't have room for error and those kind of things that we're not going to do. But then commended them on so many firsts, right? Yep. We talked about all the firsts that we had, the best winning, a first winning season, right. 6-4, most wins ever. We have a number of guys that set career records. Yeah. So, I mean, there's just a tremendous amount to be proud of. I also told them, that now, hey, the bar goes up, right? I mean, we are going to continue to push yep. that up, to where we want to be, which coincides to where Mr. 4 wants us to be, which is right. a top 20 program. Yep. I think that's very realistic, but it's going to take more attention to detail. It's going to take more work. We're not going to be able to sit back. Right. We've got to just continue to keep the gas down. So we talked about that. And then the last thing I told them was, don't walk off the field without giving a senior a hug, because they were so instrumental yeah. in getting us to where we've been. They set out to be a class that separated themselves, mm-hmm. and they did that. And that I just wanted to really end with putting all the glory on them and sure. honoring them sure. as much as we could.
Was there any soundbite that you're willing to share that maybe any one of the seniors shared at the end to the team? Sometimes you get in that. I just remember yeah. for myself, when it was my last game, I got in that emotional moment, and you say something, anything that sticks out to you?
Most of them didn't say anything after there. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of tears shed when you realize that, hey, it's now over, and right. That's a big deal to process. I know it happens every year. I mean, it's something that everybody who's put on pads deals with at right. one time or another. Yep. I shared this with a group over the weekend, that football is a unique sport in the sense that you're not going to go play a pickup football game. You're not going to walk out and play beer league football like they do with softball or whatever right, it looks
right,
like.
Right.
So the last time you put the pads on is often the last time you ever put pads on. Right. And it's a humbling thing. It's things that guys have done for 10, 12, maybe more years. Right. So just kind of letting them savor the moment a little bit. I think a lot of guys were just saying that how blessed and thankful they were to have been given an opportunity yeah. To be here, and I think that to me means everything. And what I try to instill in them and get across to them is that we give them the opportunity, but they're the ones who seize the opportunity, right? Like, just because you have an opportunity, you can do two different things with it. Every single right. one of those guys is going to get a degree. Every single one of those guys is going to, leaving their mark on this institution right. and on this football program, and that's a pretty special deal.
Well, just to echo that, it was just ironic you say it that way, because one of my classrooms is right next to our fitness center, and your kicker, Jonah Cox, was actually working out. And so I just walked in, small talk, and I said, "So Jonah, what's next?" And I was shocked by his answer. He said, "Well, I'm just going to continue getting myself in shape, and I'm going to be headed to Logan University to pursue my chiropractic degree." Yep. I was like, what an answer, yeah. right? I mean, that's exactly what you're talking about. And yeah. I know I'll get a chance to see a few more people today and certainly tomorrow in the classroom. Can't wait to see Ray tomorrow. Yeah. Because I always see him on Fridays. But anyway, it's just really cool what you're saying. It's like, okay, you realize this chapter's over. Now we move on to the next thing, which is get your degree and then move on to whatever God's called you, want you to be next.
That's right, and they're going to have great futures.
Yeah. All right, so now we're continuing into the fun stuff. So here's kind of the after show, if you would. All right, so we're done talking about the game, but here's what's really exciting is for the first time in program history, 11 Spartans were named to the All-Conference Heart of America All-Conference team. And tell us your reaction to that.
Well, just extremely excited for those guys. One of the things that I love about that, and it just validates stuff that we've been teaching them, is that the more success you have on the field, the more that you're selfless on the field, the more that gets paid back, right? It's just a godly principle. And, I think in the past we've had so many guys that are like, well, I'm not getting enough tackles. I'm not getting thrown the ball enough, whatever. But that when you go out and you are selfless and you pour yourself into your team and you make your team successful, that's when those accolades come, and that's when it's really special to really look back and be honored. I think is not only when you get noticed for your individual, but you can also look out on the field and you know what you did as a group. And that's what this game's all about. I think that's what makes this game so special. But couldn't be more excited for all 11 of those guys. I called most of them last night and told them congratulations, and they were all excited. Some of them caught by surprise, some of them not. And, I just think about some of these guys, like Zep Velder, to be an honorable mention All-League guy and what he's gone through. And to be in that position is just tremendous. I couldn't be more excited for him. You think about Gio, a two-time first-team All-Conference guy. Raekwon, a two-time second-team All-Conference guy. Rondale, two-time second-team All-Conference guy. I mean, those are things that really haven't happened, is where guys just stack those up, and I couldn't be more excited for them individually.
Well, let's talk about your first teamers. You had 3 of them. And, we'll start with the obvious one, Gio Sains again. No surprise there. Gio just had an incredible season high for him with 68 tackles. He also had 17.5 tackles for a loss, tallying 52 yards. Coach, come on. That's a crazy stat. And what I didn't realize is him and Ray were 1-2 in all of the, was it the conference or the NAIA?
Well, no, in the conference.
In the conference. It was in the conference,
The ironic thing is they finished tied for 6th in all the NAIA in tackles for loss. They each had 17.5. So, which is funny because those two guys go back and forth all the time. It's like, anything I can do, you can do better. And, here they just challenge each other so well, but they're really close. And, Gio, his numbers in sacks weren't as high as the previous year. So I really wasn't sure how it was all going to shake out. But, I think what is proof is just how much respect the rest of the league gives him and how dominant he is. I mean, he was taking on double teams like crazy, still beating them, still making plays. So extremely excited.
Yeah, now we'll go to the offensive side of the ball. This time you've had 2 of them. And one of them happens to be one of your offensive linemen. You want to speak about him?
Yeah, Cale Bunner, first-team All-Conference 2 years ago. So his second season with us, transferred from Southwest Baptist, a whole high school native. That's where he went. And, he just, what a tough guy, man. Oh, man. I kidded him last night on the phone. I said, you're the first Robo-Man to win All-Conference, because by the end of the year, he had knee braces on, 2 elbow braces on. But he was not going to come off the field. He was banged up, he was holding on, but he wasn't going to come off the field. And the work that he's put in, and something that goes unnoticed is I mentioned this to somebody when I really knew that we had a really special group. Was in fall camp, because I would stand off to the side of the field and I would watch. Practice was over, and I'd watch Zep, and he would have all the defense, him and Rondale, and they would be running and putting in extra work. I'd look over on the sideline. Cale would have some of the freshmen, and they're working on pass rush and how to do things better. And when you start having that kind of buy-in and player-led groups and teams, it's going to be a special year, and it was.
Well, and then the one, I'm not going to say necessarily was a surprise, but I was surprised with this league that has so many great running backs. Lionel Banks, my gosh. He had a season-high 177 yards against Central Mesa that's on the road. He had multiple games where he had 2 touchdowns. And then the one that really, again, speaks to the fact he had 13 total touchdowns. The guy was a touchdown machine, but also he really became a workhorse back as you went further down in the season?
Yeah, Lionel was so deserving of it. Again, like you, I wasn't sure how it was going to be.
Yeah.
I think he would be the one that I would have been the most disappointed if he didn't make it, just because of the fact he was the only back to rush for over 1,000 yards on the season. He was the only guy to have 100 yards average per game.
Right.
And I think where that's so special is that we're not just a run-oriented offense. We're a pretty split offense. The success that he had behind an offensive line that had 3 freshmen starting, tremendous. So I was really excited for him. That was a big goal of his coming in. And, we had a conversation back in December or January last year. He was maybe considering transferring because he was not getting the carries that he had. And, the conversation I had with him was, Lionel, it's your time now. Mm-hmm. You've been behind Demo, you've been behind Ron Allen, you've been behind Carl Garman, but this is now the Lionel Banks show. Right. And you just got to make sure that you come in and you're ready to do that. Yeah. And he did, and he took the bull by the horns and had a tremendous year. One for the record books. I mean, he goes down following this year as the all-time career rushing leader in program history, and he has one more year. He's the second back in history to rush for over 1,000 yards in a season, finishes number 2 all time behind Chris Baldwin. Right. But he was 1 game short of Chris too. Right. So he only had 10 games. So he did some special things.
Well, he did. And now what was so special about him was just how many big plays he just made. I mean, so consistent. What I also found interesting from listening to your last 2 games, when people were talking about Banks, they just can't believe when they read his stats how small he is, but yet how big he plays on the field. Oh, yeah. Those announcers from your last 2 games, it was so fun hearing them say that. Well, Banks is just, like he's running over guys, or he's tough to bring down, or it was really cool to hear it from the other announcer side about Banks and not realizing until you stand really up next to him, you realize he's not that big whatsoever.
He's not that tall, but he's strong.
But he is
got muscles
strong
coming out of his ears.
Yeah, he does. He is. All right. Let's talk about the second team, because this is where, wow, what a list. So let's pull that up here, and this is really cool. So here we go. On the second team all-conference list, here you go. You've got, on the offensive side, Joseph White and Xavier Tipler. What are your thoughts on those two?
Two just tremendous players. Joe is going to be a first-team all-conference guy before he's done. There's tremendous wide receivers in this league right now, so to be mentioned among those guys is a great honor. And Tip, I couldn't be more happy for him to earn second team all conference. I mean, that's a big deal. He's a guy that has just been such a consistent leader on our team for 3 years. Couldn't be more excited. Yeah,
he's gonna be one of those that I really miss a lot because he played my position in college. So you know how I am in your pregame. Always give him a little, tap on the back of the head. You got this, and of course, him. He's barking at all the guys, getting them ready to go. So, Tip's obviously a big gamer and certainly a great leader.
Yeah.
And Joseph White, I'm going to say it right now, Coach, and I said this to you. Actually, it was last week we were talking, and I think Joseph White is projecting to be where pretty soon he'll be in the conversation with Isaiah King.
Yeah, I don't.
That's one of the great, right? Yeah. It's one of the great ones in program history.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're talking about some of the best that we've had, he's definitely right there in the conversation. Now it's just like, what do those stats look like? And they're just going to keep getting better and better. Right.
Yeah, he's such a tremendous player. Now on the defensive side, again, no surprises here, but it just was great to see Ray, obviously second team. You also had Dabrian Moss, and then of course your lockdown corner, Mr. One-on-One all season long, Rondell Messer. Talk to us about your 3 defensive stars.
Yeah, well, Ray is who he is, right? I mean, he's just a tremendous defensive end, has been for 4 years now. Between he and Gio, they're going to get some looks. They're going to play in an all-star game here in the postseason.
Oh, good.
He's going to get some looks. Hopefully we can land one or both of them somewhere. Just a great young man, was a great captain for us this year. Dabrian, I couldn't be more excited. I mean, here's a redshirt freshman that is really starting because of the Achilles injury to Cade Beachside. Right. Goes out and has a tremendous year. So, now that we get Cade back and we got Dabrian, you got Nick, that's an honorable mention. I mean, we got linebackers and So I'm excited about what the future looks like there. They've all got 2 years or more left.
Yep.
And then Rondale, like, what can I say about him? Again, a guy who's been here for 2 years, transferred in. I talked to him last night, and one of the things I told him was he got here because of how coachable he is.
Right.
There's times where he and I would go after each other because he just, at first, he was, I want to do it my way, my way, my way.
Right.
Well, when he started buying in early last season, and then there were a few things that last year he didn't play the ball well, and we had to really go back and sit down and watch film and tweak things. And man, I'll tell you what, when he made those adjustments, and I think him trusting in us that we knew what we were doing to get him there, there weren't many balls caught on him.
Yep.
And that's a big deal in this league because there's some great wide receivers.
Right.
And he's the boundary corner, so
right.
he's taken a lot of shots, but they kind of quit challenging him.
Yep. Well, I was going to say, that was one of the coolest things to see, knowing that you have someone that can be a shutdown corner. Yeah. I think it's one of the most hard positions to play in football.
Without a doubt.
All right, so now going to your honorable mentions, and we'll start on the defensive side with Zep Velder, and certainly Nick Stepney.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know you've been talking all season about both those guys, but what are your final thoughts on these two being honorable mentions?
Well, I kind of mentioned Nick. He did a tremendous job. Again, a second-year guy, transferred from Lindenwood, but just his overall grasp of the defense and getting him in a little different position.
Yeah.
He was really a guy who helped lead Dabrian there at Mike too.
Right.
Hey, we need to do this, and they communicated and played together so well. Zep, I can't say enough. The thing I kind of wish is we would have switched him to safety a little bit sooner, because I felt like that was such a great fit for him. But he had a great year. Was a great leader.
Yep.
Became voted team captain. So I'm excited that he was honored in the postseason.
Well, the other thing he did, he played so well to run as well, as most of your strong safeties have done throughout your tenure.
You got to do that if you're going to play there.
I was going to say, it's going to play for you. All right, last one. I want to just give a massive shout out to him because let's just be honest here. With a league that is so competitive, and you look at these records of some of these top teams, but to have Jordan Simpson listed as an honorable mention as our quarterback, what a season that he's had. What I didn't realize is how few interceptions that he threw. His touch on the interception ratio was fantastic, but his legs, oh my gosh. I know we don't keep the stat, but I'd love to know how many times he took off running for first downs throughout the season, because it was quite a bit. So talk to us about Jordan, and granted, it helped that he was back for a second season, but to get this honor, it's got to feel really good to you, as for a program to having that position, getting this honor.
Yeah, well, as you look at the list, there's the top two quarterbacks came from Benedictine and Mid-America.
Which you'd expect.
Correct. And the offensive player of the year, I believe, was Benedictine's quarterback.
Yep.
No question that's why they're where they are.
Yep.
Mid-America's quarterback, second team. Then you have two honorable mention guys. You have the guy at Baker, and you have Jordan.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt that's the most important position in football. Period. End of story. There's the most pressure.
Yep.
It's the most important. And Jordan did a tremendous job. We talked to him in the offseason about managing the game. He was a tremendous game manager. 18 touchdowns on the season to only 5 interceptions. Right. The number of passing records, touchdown records, single season records, career records that guy broke in his 2 years, the list is comparable to my kid's Christmas list. It's like pages. So I couldn't be more excited for him. Was a tremendous addition for us, and he's so deserving. The competition in the league at quarterback is so strong. He could have been one or two easily, but being on that honorable mention list is huge.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to say it, because, like I said, when you look at who took first and second team, and you're looking at those records, and you're looking at that team, and now all of a sudden Jordan's in that conversation. For being recognized by the league. Are you kidding me? It's a big accomplishment. And kudos to you, Jordan. I had a chance to talk to him when we were doing the fall camp report. He put in the time in the off season. Like, he was doing all the things that you guys asked him to do. He came back lighter, stronger, faster. And obviously we saw it, with his play. And most importantly, just his in-game decision making. Was so good, was so good across the board. So, Coach, with it, congratulations on 11 Spartans making it to the all-conference team. I know the All-American teams come out a week from now, so we'll get an update on that. Hopefully There could be a few of our Spartans that make that list.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say this, and I'm not saying it for my sake. I'm saying it because I heard someone say it. So I want to echo what someone said. Last week when I was listening to the game, to their broadcast, so this is Baker's guy saying this, okay? He actually mentioned you, that you are in running or were in running for even being, coach of the year. And I'm convinced that had you guys somehow pulled that off and then having that 7-3 record, there's a possibility that could have possibly happened when you look at the turnaround from last year to this year. All I want to say, Coach, is just congratulations to you. Even though you didn't win an award, it doesn't matter. But what you did and what your staff did is just so incredible. And I just wanted to, just tip my cap to you and your staff for all the hard work you've put in, and now seeing the program start to, again, starting to take off.
There's a lot of people to thank, and I appreciate that. It's obviously been 10 years, 11 as long as I've been here,
right,
to get to this point. It didn't happen as fast as what we wanted, but we've got to stay there now, and we got to keep moving forward. Schedules change; they get tougher. But I'd be remiss to say, without a shout out, you mentioned them. Our team, number one, tremendous group of young men that bought into what we were talking about. Our staff, who did a tremendous job preparing them week in and week out, and then most importantly, our administration. Dr. Ross, John Hessel, Jeff Four, their belief in me. With a new AD coming in, I mean that's a leap of faith, that those guys took, and Dr. Ross has obviously been here, but he calls and says congrats and so happy, and that means the world. But their not only belief in me, belief in our staff, but the ability to get us a little bit more resources and do some different things to help bring us to the next level made a huge impact and a fast impact, and I can't thank them enough for that support.
Amen for that, for sure. So I have to ask you this as we set to wrap up, obviously, the season finale show, what's next? And I pretty much know what's next because I've already seen your Twitter posts, but you guys are on the recruiting trail pretty heavy and hard. So talk to us about that process.
Well, we're just hitting the road. The good thing is that we know who we're losing. Right. We know who we got to replace. We've got a bunch of guys that we're getting back that we're really excited about. So I think our recruiting is going to look a little different. We're not going to have to maybe replace the numbers that we've had in the past. Right. So that's exciting. We're going to be, I think, be able to be a little more selective in who comes into our program.
Right.
And what I would say to all the recruits is, you better be a dog if you're going to come in here, because there's some real ones in the locker room still. And where we're going is not to take a step back. In fact, a lot of our exit meetings, a lot of things guys are talking about is, how we're a couple touchdowns here away from beating a couple more teams, and then we want to go chase that conference championship, and that's what they're focused on. That's what we're focused on, getting into that top 20, getting into the playoffs. And, there's a lot of work. A lot of work ahead, especially in this league. You can be on top one day and down the next. And, we've never been on top. So we've got to continue to do that, be humble, and continue to put in the work.
Right. So with that, Coach, I know this is going to be a sign-off for 2024, but historically speaking, at least for the last 7 years that I've been involved with the program, that looks like we'll be back together for the National Signing Day show, which happens to be actually the most viewed broadcast that we even do every year, which is real excited, as we announce all the new Spartans. So that usually happens that first week of February. And I know that that's a very long day for the amount of Spartans you end up signing, but that will be the next time I believe that we'll have a broadcast right here on the Spartan Digital Network. Coach, just want to again thank you for an amazing season.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate all your help.
All right, here it is. The wrap-up of the 2024 season. This is the Spartans finished 6-4 overall record as they played 3-3 in the conference. For Coach B, I'm Guy Danhoff. I want to thank you guys for watching it right here on the Spartan Digital Network.